So we're gonna get into this video here by our man Bellular.
He's a Tauren mage.
This is all about new players coming into the game. When it was the owner or family, yeah, the coworkers knew exactly who was. Yep. I agree. Let's get into this. So let's see what they have to say and what it's like.
He was born to suffer. Except things did not quite go to plan. You see, his suffering actually started much earlier than we intended. So let me explain this whole thing. Milk Genius is the first character on a fresh account. Matt and our team is going to use him for some upcoming challenge runs of the game. But, well, challenge actually found him first. That's because just getting to level 80 was an absolute nightmare. Let me tell you, we were shocked to find out how bad WoW really is for new players. It is literally unplayable in ways that we did not expect, and I am not...
Okay, oh, this is where all of this shit gets doomer. You know, look, you guys who have played for vanilla, back when I was playing vanilla, was it really that hard? It was fun. I didn't think about it being hard. I thought about it more about, you know, enjoying the world, trying not to get killed by, you know, your fucking murlocs and not getting too much aggro. There was a lot of running back to your body, but I mean, it is what it is. That's why Hardcore Classic was so fun, you know, or Classic itself, because it brought back the simplicity of the game. That's all I'm saying.
Not joking. Whenever people send me things, first impressions...
Okay, and then they do that. I am not a huge fan of Bellular's views. He isn't an alarmist. Isn't an alarmist? It could be. You know, he understands the algorithm. He knows that the algorithm picks up when you do doomer content. You know, but for the most part, he's got a good ear in the community. He does get a lot of information, and then they could put their own spin on it. That's all they can do. They put their own spin on it. They let you sit there with it, and, you know, you take what you want on it. We all have opinions. I have an opinion. You have an opinion about Bellular. You know, everything. And this is one of the things that everyone has to understand. People don't have to listen and just listen, become educated, but you don't have to take the views of the content creator. You don't have to believe everything they say. You could just see their views for what an opinion. It's an opinion. He's still a weenie. It could be. I wish I'm a big hair guy. I just look at content creators and the first thing I see is hair, you know? And I kind of wonder, do they ever try and take care of it? But I mean, that's such a small thing, right? Then now you can have an opinion about me.
Milk Genius had a normal time at first. Pleasant even. Lots of people told him to do things like incinerate living creatures around the Dragon Isles, and he did so with a smile. His barrier was impenetrable. He blew up enemies in a few casts at most. Then something changed. As he leveled and mastered new spells, he actually got weaker. Pyroblast felt like tepid air blast. He might have done more damage blowing kisses than throwing fireballs. It felt ridiculous. And then enemies chunked him with every swing. And before poor Milk Genius knew what was happening, he found himself needing everything in his arsenal to survive. Burst, Time Warp, Ice Block, all just to take on the local wildlife.
Hey, this is a good training ground for you. Yes, the more you level, the weaker your spells become. You get to learn more of your kit. You really want to learn your kit, go do PvP. That will tell you how to learn your kit. Staying alive is key in World of Warcraft. Dead DPS does no DPS. Write that down.
The same wildlife, the very same wildlife that he had just been exploding with a simple glance just a few hours before. Now, of course, as an experienced WoW player, you're probably familiar with slowing down as you level, but I promise you, you have not seen anything this bad. We have not seen anything this bad because we just hadn't done this in a while. And by now, it really is different. And this all made leveling a living nightmare. WoW felt like less of a well-designed video game. Fighting one mob without combustion was pointless. Pulling two at the same time meant certain death. It took every mage spell in the book to kill named NPCs, and usually in a few tries. This
He aggroed that one in the back and it like but a lot of times, you know it, I know it, everybody knows it. When you're leveling something, you generally will level a spec within your build that has forecasters, I would say some kind of tank mob. Nightmare leveling 80 to 85 in Lich King days, 15 million for 84 to 85.
was not fun.
Yeah, the amount of XP you needed, but you know what? That's what made the game. It is, you know, your memories were built off of playing. Never were the days when you got there and you leveled up and you hit that ding, you felt like you earned it. It wasn't given. It was expected for you to play the whole map. To almost be lore master by the time you maxed out your level. Now it's all about speed and expedition, and the experience of the game has been diminished so much that no longer is it smelling the roses. It's like, how fast can I get to cap so then I can get to the end game? We lost something in translation. We lost something in translation. Now, if you want to call me a purist, hey, look, I like to see numbers go up. When you hit max level, how many of you guys have more than 2 to 3 alts? How many? Raise your hand in the class. How many of you have more than 2 to 3 alts? How many of you can say that you will play one character and one character only for the first patch? All the way. There's not a lot of people that do that anymore. No longer are they a one trick pony. They want to try and be master. They want to be a jack of all trades, but not master of none.
It was somewhere between a pointless slog and just being insanely frustrating. And this is in the hands of a good player. So,
you know, but I also believe, you know, if you look at what he's talking about right here, it's all about you playing an MMO as a solo game. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Along the travels that you make on your new adventure in the world of Warcraft, you're supposed to develop a friends list. In that friends list, when you log on, you will be able to tell who's on, who you can maybe call upon to join your party, to go and adventure in your days. But what you're looking at right here is kind of what I was pointing out in my last video, is that it's all about an MMO being played as a solo part. What was that? I don't know what that was, and nothing's playing. You don't need to play this as a solo player game. This isn't, you know, Silent Hill. This isn't, you know, Black Myth Wukong. You can have other people play with you.
someone with many years of experience. What do you think would happen to a new player? A new player who would die trying to 1v1
Still
a
trying to see what
regular
that,
mob.
I was trying to see what that ping was.
Say a boar. They would probably quit the game. It's just hard to imagine anyone bothering with this. Even if they survived, getting weaker over time is kind of the opposite of what an RPG should be.
Oh, hey. Sorry, it didn't give me the alert that you did that over here on my thing. Thank you so much for the hell yeah, brother. Appreciate it. Over on Kick.
There's essentially, in my view, no way they would stick with it. Not unless they had a whole bunch of friends boosting them and getting them towards the end game. And the sad news for Milk Genius is it actually got worse before it got better. Hours of struggling later, he finally reached Orgrimmar. He'd done the non-combat quests where he could. Now they called him to set the newest continent ablaze. Yes, he was being called to Kaz Algar. Without a well-timed save from a hunter who just happened to be there, he actually would, well, maybe still be dying from that Nerubian lord you've got to fight in Dalaran in the intro. You know, over and over and over again.
But where's his friends? Where is his friends? It's my point. Why has he got to take all those dudes by himself? To show he's got a big cock? I mean, I don't understand. Help me. Make it make sense. You're in World of Warcraft. Although, looking at this, maybe he's in a scenario where it is only him. But there's like nobody in Dalaran chat. Maybe he's playing on a test server. I don't know. I don't get it.
Again, because it was actually just that bad as a fight. And remember, you need to beat that boss to finish the scenario. And
That is a
means that as
scenario,
new
okay.
player, there is no way to continue. It was genuinely impossible alone, and that's because Milk Genius was a victim. He was a victim
Oh, come on. You see, now I agree with Godsmack. Now, he's an alarmist. This isn't true, chat. Just fucking get good.
of scaling and how it's essentially broken for the game as it is being played by new players right now. And the sad thing for Milk Genius is there was just about nothing he could do about it. So, how did we get into this mess? How did this happen? Let's break it all down.
I don't
then.
even know
Our
what to
actual
say to
problem
that.
here was gear. On the Isle of Dorne, the quest reward from the impossible intro quest really did prove that. And that's because the same slot went from plus 40 stamina to plus 1295. It's quite a lot more. It's an extra 25k HP. It's a 16% increase from just one item. That's out of 14 slots. And this was not just health either. This slot went from 20 int to 441, plus 3% crit and 1% haste. That was all from one single hat. Okay, what actually happened here? Well, Milk Genius had actually out-leveled so fast that he drastically outgrew his gear, and it was now.
Okay, so here's something that the game doesn't tell you. And I am going to give you information. So thank you. Stop it. Write down. Bookmark this. There are things called heirlooms. Now, for the most part, they are shit. All right? They are shit compared to the old way they used to be. But one thing that they do with you, as you level, they level. That is what the prime objective is to having heirlooms. You could take it for the benefit of having your rested XP last longer, but it is beneficial for you to get as many heirlooms as you can so that this way, as you level, they will level with you, giving you all the attributes that you would want to see go up to make you be able to survive. So let's see if he goes into that here, but if not, I gave you some information. There it is.
Impossible to keep him with a set of gear that actually fit his level. Most of his equipment was so bad that he may as well have been naked, which is a sad state of affairs for poor Milk Genius. And of course, that's on a fresh account, without the warband buff that gives you up to like 25% more XP.
Well, there is that. If it's a fresh account and you're new to World of Warcraft, I think it's going to be harder for you to get heirlooms because I don't think you'll have the gold unless you go straight to the shop and start buying some tokens, and then you might even have to know how to use them. Maybe you don't have this information. Maybe I should release content like that. I will have to write that down.
And of course, this was a fresh account. That means no heirlooms. Basically, this is the stock experience where there are really no pointers or explainers. And that means that leveling is just too fast for how Blizzard's game actually awards people gear. Why? Well, campaign quests are designed with a specific curve in mind. You'd get a few pieces in every zone as you would level up. Then you would hit max with a full quest set of gear. Some pieces would be a few item levels lower. That's for a fairly obvious reason. You would maybe get one piece of gear at level 64 instead of at level 69, but that's not really a big deal. Job done, you've hit max level. And that's what happens because Dragonflight, and of course later on War Within, have got their continents designed for a 10 leveling span, not a 60 or 70 leveling span. That's why this breaks. Players drop into Dragonflight at level 10. They then finish the campaign somewhere in the 40s, and that's when they essentially run out of easy gear, which leads to this situation. This poor soul was still wearing gear from his 30s and 40s. He wasn't level 50.
Yeah, so they probably need to up the gear level that you're getting, and you probably need to start being able to loot more sufficient gear for you to be more in line with your item level and your player level.
50. He wasn't level 55. No, he was in his 60s. And this is not like WoW Classic. You see, in Classic, wearing a 15 green was fine for like 20 levels. Gear scaling is absolutely nuts now, and that's the key difference between now and Classic. Every slot was hundreds of item levels below where it should have been. thousands of stats behind. And you may say, just go get some gear, bro, that's the problem. Easy. Well, Milk Genius wishes it was easy. Some side quests drop gear. The odd world quests do as well. But even
I actually find this so hard to believe, though. I've leveled a ton of characters lately and always have tons of gear I'm swapping out. Yeah, I curious what well, if he's sticking strictly to, you know, the chapters of the quest line, maybe you don't get as many good rewards as every player out there does. This is why I'm saying one of the things that I enjoyed about World of Warcraft WoW Classic was it encouraged you to do all of the side quests so that you can get the benefits of gold, being able to purchase your gear, some of the gear off of your vendors, you know, whenever you're in Elwyn Forest, especially for the beginning. But he's talking mostly around 40 to 50, maybe after that, because you're out leveling it so fast. You're outpacing your gear drops, maybe.
if you understand that system, which again, if you're a new player, you probably won't, there's no reliable way to replace garbage. As an example, when I say garbage, say, imagine that plus 10 strength belt that you picked up at level 25. Now, if you're thinking, just buy bind on equipped gear then, well, we thought about that as well. BOEs below level 80 are unbelievably expensive. Many of you probably know why. It's because the only people buying them are giga-rich transmog hunters who want to fill out their set. And that's an economic context that poor Milk Genius and, of course, every new player to the game won't exactly be in. You see, with today's leveling speeds, you'll only have a few thousand gold by the time you hit this problem. And if you're in the know, you won't really want to spend that. As an example, just think about how expensive enchants and crafting are up at max level. That means that spending any money in gear before level 80 is a huge mistake. But hang on a second. You may be wondering why you don't have that problem, why you are not like the poor victim of today's video, Milk Genius, and the legions, the probably hundreds of thousands of potential new players that are bouncing off World of Warcraft every month. You and Milk Genius ain't the same. You'll have heirlooms. Those heirlooms will scale with level. And even if you don't, you can queue for every single dungeon with Chromie time. Or perhaps you'll only be leveling your characters during time walking weeks, where you can just spam dungeons with shorter queues and get loads of gear. That's not what a new player will be doing. What we're talking about today is a new player problem. Now, you can technically avoid it if you run...
I was going to say that. That's where the token comes so much into play. They've really done a genius job when it comes to getting you to buy that WoW token, have they not? I do it. I do it often. I'm always using you guys help support my characters. I usually take my Twitch money that I get and I go and I buy 2 tokens on my 2 characters so that they have an influx of gold coming in for consumables, for enchants, for repairs. Like when you get done at the end of a dungeon and you only get less than 1,000 gold for repairs, that does nothing if you're in full purples at some of the highest levels and you've died multiple times during your run. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. If you're not doing quests or buying WoW tokens or playing the auction house, if you're not doing any of that, then the shop is your next best thing to getting 200 plus K in gold. It's become the pillar of being a necessary evil in the game.
Dungeons. Scaling is a little different there, but hey, you will get some gear. But the DPS queue times for Dragonflight
like I
dungeons
said,
are prohibitively
they're not stupid.
long.
They're not stupid.
And you're trapped in the Dragon Isles until level 70 anyway. So, if you ask me, asking a new player to AFK in a queue is not much of a solution to this problem. And if you're not convinced that this is a problem, let me put it this way. Blizzard putting WoW on sale like this is basically them trying to fill a bathtub. But what they, well, probably realize but have not yet acted on is that bathtub, well, doesn't really have a plug in it. So all of those new players they chuck into World of Warcraft simply just drain away.
And that was my son. He wanted to play with me. So he actually bought the subscription and the game. He played with me that one night and has never logged in again. I'd like to pick his brain. He says it's too slow. It's really not engaging for him, and he just didn't stick with it.
Okay, look, I've got to pull the handbrake and do a crazy power turn, but trust me, I'm actually going somewhere with this. It's relevant. The Final Fantasy XIV director wrote blogs early in the game's life, and he talked about something similar. There was a quest in A Realm Reborn. A few of you may know it. It asked you to get a full set of item level 5+ gear, and right beside that quest giver was an NPC vendor. That vendor sold the last item that you needed.
There. Now, there isn't too many times that I see somebody use the comparisons that I do of Final Fantasy 14. And now that he's opened up that can of worms, then I can tell you, money, when it comes to money in Final Fantasy 14, is such a non-nomer that you can give it away. They took away the necessity of you needing. I have millions of gold when it comes to not gold. What do they call it? I forgot what the fuck they call it. But for me, they call it gil. They call it gil. I have millions of gil in the game. I can literally buy, for the most part, anything that I want. I could buy my transmogs, which I have off the marketplace. I can, buy an apartment. I can't afford a house because those are way more million, and probably I don't have a sub, so I would have lost it already. But it's one of those things that they provide you with everything.
A piece of leg armor, and the game explains all of this stuff too.
And you don't even need gil to purchase the leg armor. I believe you just need a currency that they use like World of Warcraft to buy some of these items.
Do you? But here's what happened.
Just
Even
not
with
gil.
all of that, their stopping point data showed something different. The data showed this was the quest most quitting players stopped at. Which is kind of crazy, right? Such a simple barrier, yet it kind of destroyed their player signups. Now they ended up changing this. They changed it to be more clear. When they changed, it actually worked. More people stayed. You see, players don't like being confused. They don't like feeling confused. And in this case, it's new players who have not put hours into an MMO. They're gonna feel confused real easy. MMOs are overwhelming. They won't put up with the sorts of bullshit that you and I will put up with basically all the time. Hey, we're WoW players, we're used to it. But they won't put up with that. Now, I do not have access to Blizzard's stopping point data, but I can promise you this. They have tons of people who finish the Dragonflight campaign, they hit the wall that Milk Genius hit, and then they get confused. The campaign stops giving them gear. They find that they cannot kill mobs. They also can't find side quests. They get confused. They don't like feeling confused. They try to Google things about the game, but Google's a mess. WoW data is just spread across lots of different websites, ones that are useful but often high cognitive.
That's why you come to YouTube and learn all that you need to know about World of Warcraft. Am I right? Am I right or am I right? How you doing, Kama? I'm sorry. Where are my manners? How you doing? Welcome in.
Load to use. So what happens is they simply quit. I think in doing these sales, Blizzard is pouring time and effort into finding water for the bucket, but they haven't perhaps realized or acted on the fact there's a giant hole in the bottom of that bucket. But I do have some good news. It's not all hopelessness, because our boy Milk Genius found a way out. You see, once Milk Genius put on that new bit of gear, the hat that I described that gave him thousands more stats, everything changed. His new hat made him so strong that he could kill 3 quest mobs at the same time when he popped all of his cooldowns. Not very impressive, but it was a massive difference. It was moving from playing the game feeling impossible to feeling technically possible. Now, questing was still extremely slow. Gear came in drips and drops, and some slots just felt impossible to replace. So eventually, Matt, who, by the way, was the man behind Milk Genius, he ended up just giving up. He was tired of pretending to be a new player. He wanted a way out. Now, someone suggested he log out for 2 whole months, and that in doing so, the gear update function of the game would appear and give him a starting set. That was of course not very appealing, so instead he learned tailoring and he just went and made all of his own gear. And this worked by pure luck. Cloth drops came from mobs anyway, but say a plate wearer needing to go and mine ore, well, that is a whole different story. Anyway, over the next level or two...
Not really, because when I level, I usually level with gathering professions in my back pocket, because you get XP from doing that. I also used to use pet battles for XP. They're phasing those out for the expansion, but up until this point, I was using all of the which then goes back to one of my earlier points where I just wanted to get to max level, considering I already had max level characters. So if they could get up to max level, then now they can use all the woo gear that I have in my woo bank.
He was able to craft enough gear to catch up, to make Milk Genius strong. Turned out that Matt's game knowledge just got him back on track because he knew how to use the crafting system. That meant that now he could level up to 80 without having to pull individual...
But still, even if you're going to craft, to learn all of your spells, you will not have sufficient gold if you're not playing the shop. You will need to buy tokens so that you can buy all the materials off of the auction house if you're not a gold farmer, so that you can level up your profession to craft all your gear for your character.
Mobs one at a time. And with that problem solved, he could start in the real task, suffering, playing at max level, which was the entire point of Milk Genius's existence. Now, part of all of this was actually fun, to be clear. Squeezing out every little bit of damage to kill mobs is kind of satisfying, and I'm not making this video to say that leveling should just be one-shotting mobs for 80 levels while you live in some sort of fugue state putting Doritos into your mouth. No. Players do need to learn how to play.
Exactly.
And there's times where old Milk Genius was forced to learn how to play. But what Milk Genius went through is not what Blizzard intends. I mean, a few pieces of gear, doubling your health, doubling your damage, that is not healthy for the game. It's clearly not intended. I mean, we're in a situation where anyone who does not know exactly where gear comes from will actually struggle. And remember, we're talking about new players, who by definition do not know things. Now, if they don't know how to use their full kit...
I don't think anybody's coming to this game who has not been advertised in some way by one of their friends. Somebody from school, somebody from their workplace. I don't think they're going to look at World of Warcraft on Steam or an advertisement on television and come to the game. It's definitely by somebody that they know. If you guys came to this game without knowing somebody, what got you in? I would really like to hear that.
Say, maxing out their cooldowns or choosing a specific talent build. Well, then this game, World
Hey, Ox, how you doing, baby?
of Warcraft, is genuinely unplayable. And if World of Warcraft is genuinely unplayable for new players, it's maybe a little bit tricky for Blizzard to actually grow World of Warcraft.
Okay, so
Blizzard had a solution for this, but the funny thing is, they, actually just took it right out of the game. You see, the Winds of Mysterious Fortune event dropped bags with bonus gear, and that bonus gear scaled to your level. Basically, it operated just like bags from doing random dungeons, but now, of course, it's gone. And what the removal of this does is kind of screw over new players who basically bought the game in the recent sale. Because if they bought the game and maybe didn't hit level 80 in time, they could get completely slammed by the gear drought and them just not understanding where gear comes from, especially because when they signed up to the game, it came from the Winds of Mysterious Fortune event. Now, Blizzard could overhaul the scaling here. You know, simply lock systems designers in a room with spreadsheets and force them to fix it, to make the gear curve less sharp. But we all know that's probably a waste of time, that doing so would probably jeopardize the already delicate balance.
Did you guys use that? I never used that. So I when it comes to, but then I kind of feel that I'm not a new player. I might pick up a new class, but I still have all the knowledge that I can't unlearn to go through the game itself and level at what I think is an efficient way. Or, you know, let me know. I don't know. I never use that function in the game.
Of the game, because every time Blizzard changes scaling, there are hosts of unintended consequences. So let's think about the simple way. And the simple way is to make sure players get more gear. Fairly easy. Basically, it's
And
to
more
bake
gold.
those bonus gear bags in permanently for new players, or to do something that they actually did in the past. You see, in Mists of Pandaria, vendors sold full sets of leveling greens. You could actually just buy them to make sure you were ready. So if you add that, and then add a quest pointing players to that, then, problem solved. If you want to be really lazy, well, just drop a full set of leveling gear on characters every 10 levels. Make it a quest reward. I think that would feel bad, but you know what? If Blizzard are having players abandon the game in droves, even though it's solving a nuanced problem with a humongous sledgehammer, at least the problem would be solved, and we would not have the player attrition that I'm fair.
Yeah, I think that if you gave the players stronger gear, no matter what their game experience might be, as long as they can handle the environment and be able to get through what it is we call our quest and live more than running back to their body, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think most of your big gains are going to be when you're coming to your vault, your great vault, or getting through a 10 plus key, or being able to do heroic raid. If you're into PvP, you'll get that from your conquest badges, things like that. Let me know, what is your easiest way to get gear? Is it making it? Right now on my new Demon Hunter, without making the mistakes that I did when leveling my pally and gearing my pally, I've been able to save all of his crests and his crest caps. I've been able to save all of his catalysts. So all of those were in the bank. So when I got on them and I started going, I wanted to make sure I got my 4 set. I still have catalyst charges for when I get my hero pieces. Remember, don't try and use all your catalysts just because you go from champion to heroic, because in the end, wait for your vault. You might get something that'll replace that champion that already is a tier piece. If you were able to do that on a heroic raid or such. That's just my advice. I wish they would give you heroic pieces out of your vault. If you're not doing 10s, that were part of the tier system, but they're not. I believe those are only in raid.
Pretty sure we have with new accounts.
And that's where you burn your catalyst.
At any rate, we know that a longer term, that a bigger systemic solution is actually coming here. Holly Longdale has talked about true change to the new player experience. That cannot come soon enough. But if it is going to be a while, I think Blizzard should do something about gear acquisition, because, look, we were honestly shocked by how horrible this was to play. I wonder if you're someone who hangs out in mentor chat, what your experience is like, seeing just the problems that new players have.
Yeah.
At any rate,
so that's kind of the information that you'll get. So, as you're getting through it, I want to hear exactly what your experience is with some of your alts. What is the quickest way that you level your alts? Is it through your time walking dungeons, when that's a thing? Yeah, I know generally at the end of every patch they give you the XP. I forgot, it's something about hero, isn't it? Like a hero buff. That's anyways, let me know.